Welcome to Not Strong.
This is a podcast for men about real challenges and real growth.
Life can hit hard. What do you do when the things you've always relied upon quit working?
When the way you've always handled things just isn't enough.
When your physical, mental, and spiritual strength are put to the test?
Do you push through, hold on even tighter?
Or have you learned how to surrender? And what does that look like?
We're here to explore the human spirit with you and share what it takes to press forward through life's greatest challenges.
To tap into something bigger than ourselves and live a healthier, happier, more fulfilling life.
Join us on the Not Strong journey.
Welcome to Not Strong, empowering the human spirit. I'm Kurtis Loftus.
And I'm Tim Hamby.
Well, we're back. This is our 6th episode.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and we're going to continue with the Fear Not theme.
Okay.
So last week we explored your story, the diagnosis of cancer, and this week we're going to continue with conversations related to my cancer and then all things that are spiritual in our recovery as best we can. So first, a couple things, Tim. I'm going to pray. And it'll be a quick one, but I feel like we have not had the opportunities or taken the opportunities to just get ourselves set for an episode. And maybe we try that. And so.
Yeah, sure. Let's do it.
A simple prayer. And Lord Jesus, thank you for this day. Thank you for Tim. Thank you for his spirit, his encouraging heart. Thank you for the people listening, and hopefully they receive something from us that is beneficial. We believe in all things Almighty through you. Anything is possible. So we're grateful for that. And in your name, amen.
Amen. Thank you.
All right, cool. And also, it's Memorial Weekend.
Yeah, happy Memorial Day. Definitely give a shout out to all the families out there of veterans who have passed serving our country, protecting our freedom.
Right.
An important holiday.
Really is. And what I've learned is, and it's important that these different holidays that honor our military, the servicemen and women, this one in particular is those that never came back.
Yeah.
And, when you think about 20-year-old kids and, some 19, 18, there were kids back in World War I that they were trying to get there when they were 16.
Yeah.
Like lie about their age just to take the fight to the Germans or whatever. They were willing to do that. And that's what they call the greatest generation eventually.
I love it.
I know. We learn a lot from those young men and women, the spirit they had, and the intentionality. So we're honored that we can recognize this holiday and those people. Yeah.
It's one of the things I love living in Jacksonville. One of the things I love about living here is it's a military town, Navy town. Mm-hmm. And I grew up over in Orange Park and was surrounded by, military families. Mm-hmm. So it's one of the things I've always liked about the city. The city does a great job of honoring those people and respecting them and paying homage to them in a lot of different ways. Right. So also sacrifice.
So thanks for doing that. And then Not Strong, Fear Not Part 2. So if it's cool.
Yeah, let's get into it. So you got some good news this week.
I did, Tim. Yeah. And it was related to the PSA score that is tied to the prostate. And, it was a great score. It was 0.11.
Wow. That's pretty low.
That means I think there's really, at this point in time, really insignificant cancer.
Yeah.
So we'll kind of start this off with, the gratitude I have for the new, the PSA score. But, more importantly, I think as I was really meditating on today, what it might look like, I wanted to also get into some of the generational stuff that is, our health and well-being, because that cancer my cancer is tied to a family issue.
Mm-hmm.
My grandfather had the same cancer.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, I don't know everything about his cancer. He died from prostate cancer.
Mm-hmm.
He was in his 70s.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that. He also had throat cancer. Weirdly enough, not weird. He was a smoker. He smoked a lot.
Yeah.
Like so many.
Yeah, back in the day. Yeah,
Wow.
my dad was as well.
Yeah. In fact, I never knew my grandfather, his voice, without the larynx affected by the throat cancer.
My dad and I was adopted early on, but the fellow that I consider my dad who raised me lost his larynx to cancer.
Yeah, I think
because he smoked.
Well, and I'm wondering now that you say it that way, it could have been that they removed his larynx, right?
Yeah.
I don't
had to speak with an electronic device.
Okay, so no, he had that still, but it was a very coarse, haunting kind of voice.
Yeah.
And that's how I knew him.
Mm-hmm.
So I almost always focused on, in terms of his health, and he wasn't a healthy man either. I mean, poor diet. I never saw him exercise. I knew him always in a chair, almost. I went through a lot of old photos, and you're going to see some photos of him, because for me, and you know this about me, I take lots of pictures. I collect photos. Yeah. It's just always been me. I don't know why, but I've got a ton of his old photos. So, you'll see him as a young man. You'll see him middle-aged. You'll see him, my grandfather, my age now. And I'm 64. I just turned 64, by the way, May 20th.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, that was well, and we're bouncing around here, but that was the date that I decided. I was at the 6-month mark, Tim, with the PSA, and I knew it was going to hit in May, and I'd been, kind of, you got to get this done. I like to attach things like that to a birthday, but I did.
Not the way you celebrate.
No, but I did. I went for it, and and I found out the next day. The point on all of this is, at 64, I think my grandfather was about 73 when he passed, 72, 73. Okay. So from the prostate cancer. So not knowing what the aggressiveness of it was, or even when they found it, or how they even treated him. I cannot believe they treated him with the testosterone treatment that I'm under right now. And I want to talk a little bit about that as well.
And just FYI, from my understanding, that's actually about an average lifespan for a man.
Just in general, you're right, in your 70s. So, I may be on that track now. There's no guarantees, but I know that the testosterone part of this treatment is huge for me. And I want to talk about that. So getting after it, understanding that there's some generational aspects to my cancer, of ignoring it for a couple years. We'll talk about that and why that happened. But we're different in our stories that way. Me, I was, I think, predisposed. I knew this is something I should pay attention to. Yours came out of the blue. Yeah. And both of our stories relate to, how do we address it? How do the doctors address it? What are we doing right now? What's the work to, obviously enhance the prognosis? So again, from the time I was, taking care of my own health, you graduate from school, and then you're in college, and then you're like your own grown-up man. It's like, you get your doctor's appointments, you set your dentist appointments, you start taking care of yourself, which, I will say this, my family was a bit disrupted by divorce, and who's going to show me what to do, how to behave. I didn't have a lot of that going on, My dad was out of the house by the time I was 13, 14. Yeah. My mom did a great job, but, I'm a young man. My mom didn't know what to do with a young man. Other than just her best, which was great.
It's just fun. My family also was impacted by divorce about age 15. And my mom had 3 boys. She had 3 of us.
Yeah, single. Shout out to the single moms.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. My mom held our family together, And she actually was kind of the health conscious person in our family. Yeah, my dad wasn't a smoker, same as yours, didn't exercise or whatever. But my mom was always onto the health trends. When it, cut out the grease, start eating turkey, do aerobics as those trends came,
I did not, again, get fully involved in my own health and well-being until I was weirdly financially well enough off. I mean, I hate to say this, but, I got married pretty young, 22, 23. 22. Margaret's 23. I was, barely in college. I had to finish school and, all this stuff. I was, from a financial standpoint, it was just, you're just paying bills and it's always prioritizing what bill gets paid first, right? Yeah. And your healthcare bills are like, I knew dentist was important. I knew, internal health was important. I knew I have a wife that I want to take care of, and her health is important. It's all that stuff, Tim. But where do you find the time, the money, and how do you just start?
Was the familial history of the cancer in the back of your head at that point?
Yeah,
it was.
Yeah. So my grandfather, when he passed, Margaret and I had been married because I was still at William Cook Advertising, which meant that I was not even finished with school. I finished at school at 25. That's when I graduated.
Yeah.
So he passes. I'm in college because I know I'm at Cook, probably still in college, 25 years old around that time. So, you can do the math, but Margaret and I are like, wow, here he is. We go to the funeral. It's prostate cancer, but other, attributes of throat cancer. And I'm like, and you're right. Probably then, Kurtis, you got to sort of pay attention to this thing. And just like anything, you go to a doctor, get your general visit done, blood work and all that kind of stuff. And they're always in the questionnaire, are you any history?
Yeah.
And so I was automatically going, my grandfather. But when you're young, you're not thinking, I got to worry about prostate cancer.
Yeah.
So that goes on, and life, continues. And what ends up happening specifically with me and just my own health and well-being, the cancer really didn't show up, I don't think, until 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, 3.5. I had a high PSA. That's what they'll do. So the docs will understand that you are predisposed, your genetics might have.
It's an important regular score that men should.
By the time you're in your 40s anyways, 45, and you should be looking at PSA, getting blood work like that. And I'm talking to a lot of men now about it, and they still don't do it. I mean, I'll see them in the gym. We'll talk about my own health. They'll ask how you're doing, Kurtis, and they'll be like, oh, maybe I should ask.
It's kind of a weird thing is that, I go to the doctor every 3 weeks, right? You're still getting infusions for my treatment. And I'll give blood tests before each one of those things. And my primary doctor called me, wanted to set up an appointment. And I'm like, what do I need to go do? And he says, he wants to send me for more tests, more blood tests. So what do I need to do? And he said, I want to get your PSA. And I said, they're tracking everything at Baptist, MD Anderson. And he said, no, he goes, I have access to your records. They're not looking at that. And it's just one thing I want to keep an eye on you for. So I got to set up with Quest to go check my PSA soon.
And you, me, generally, this is something I did some reading on, and I will always make a point of it. Men, our makeup, I believe our beings, being a man, does not, we are not designed to worry about our internal health.
Yeah.
We don't like it. We don't care about it. We're more about the external. When it comes to things that we can manage, control, get after, internal health is like a mystery.
Mm-hmm.
And so when it comes to, hey, we want to go poking around, digging around, and looking inside of you for things, we're like, look, just leave me alone. I have a friend.
I got this.
Dude, so I was talking to a buddy yesterday in the gym, and this is a 54-year-old just great spirit. I love him. When we talk, his eyes light, his whole countenance. He's a minister too. Mm-hmm. And he marries people. And he's got a story, though, that even ties him back to Iraq and work that he was doing across this, the ocean. Mm-hmm. And some of his struggles, some of his, own challenges spiritually. But we're talking now health and well-being yesterday, just by chance. We see each other in the gym. We know each other outside of the gym. This guy is getting prodded by the doc to get a colon test. Yeah. You need to get your colonoscopy. Yeah. He's 54. Yeah. And he's like, Kurtis, I don't want him touching or seeing or doing anything down there. I don't, it's not.
Who does?
Who does? It's not funny. It's like, hey, this is personal now. This is me. I don't want to be prodded and pushed and poked. Yeah. And and I don't blame dudes for behaving that way. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But it's still, rip that all away, get away from your ego, get away from, the stubbornness. This is your health. Yeah. And just like you explained last week, you got to get after it with the docs too.
Yeah. And you may not necessarily, you may feel fine.
Oh yeah. Well, and we learned a lot of that from you as well. Yeah. It's like, hey doc, my heart's good. And you were tracking right. I feel pretty good. This doesn't make sense. And eventually you're like, there's got to be more to this. Mm-hmm. And pushing and prodding and getting after it. And timing is important. So we've gone all over the place, but let's get back to the PSA. So the PSA, I am like, I explained, probably, it was 4 to 5 years ago when they first alerted me on my PSA. I was with my general practitioner. And so, you figure I'm now this was me 58, let's say 58, 59, mm-hmm. This thing's showing up. Mm-hmm. But it showed up as a number that can be kind of acceptable. I mean, it's a high number. Mm-hmm. The 3 and 4 area is about it. Yeah. Once you're moving past
That's right. I've heard once it's over 3.5, it's kind of a...
That's right. That's right. Now it's a different space.
Yeah.
And I hit get ready for this, a 7. Yeah. So 4.5 years ago, I hit a 7. Yeah. And Kurtis, we're sending you to the specialist. We're going to get this blood looked at again. And I hit I'm nervous because now it is, grandfather, you're with me in head, heart, spirit, and now body. Mm-hmm. This is the generational thing that I was waiting for. The blood work for and believe me, nervous. So the blood work that I'm getting ready for is coming from this new place. McGeever, is doing the next round and calls me in. I'm sitting in front of the specialist. Shows up as a 5. We're sending you on your way. At that time, I didn't ask a bunch of questions. Mm-hmm. And I didn't even say, hey, doc, I've got the history. Is there some...
You're just grateful to get out of there.
Dang right. Dang right, brother. I did. I smiled inside and I'm like, I'm good. I left there. A lot of things in life took place over the 3 or 4 years between... It was 3 years. If I calculate it right, it was 2.5, 3 years before I got back in.
Is there some fear there? Fear of just not wanting to know?
Well, that and I'm gonna just tell you, it was a busy time of our lives, Margaret and I, and I was getting after some things from my own health and well-being that had me feeling pretty strong. Okay, like in my head and heart, I'm pretty strong. Yeah. So my stand-up paddling, I did the surf endurance marathon that second round. When I broke the record again when I turned 60. Yeah. So I'm saying it was 59 when I probably got the prostate diagnosis. Yeah. And then 60 years old, I'm doing a surf marathon again.
Yeah. That's validating.
For your health. I'm fine. I'm strong. I'm good. And so, and then it was Margaret and I go on the trip last year in May. We get back from that. This is May 2024. And then it's a couple months go by and everything is settled. I'm relaxed and getting back into what I think is general routines. And I'm like, Margaret, I got to get back. I've been peeing more at night. And just have a couple friends that would remind me about my prostate and about general prostate health and old man stuff. And I'd be like, I've got to get back after this.
Yeah.
So it was really me jumping back in, and I should have
Good for you.
but I should have been doing it all along, brother.
Yeah.
Annual checkups, regardless. Annual checkups.
Yeah.
Annual blood work. Annual colonoscopies. Please get that work done.
Yeah.
And then, I go in and I come back to visit the doc, and there's a lovely lady that's going through all my stuff, and I'm hitting all my marks. Good, great. Kurtis. Oh, the PSA, Kurtis, you've got a 24.
Oh my gosh.
A 24. And that is like shocking.
Alarm bells. Yeah.
Oh, it's everything. No, it's, yeah. And heart sinks. It's like, darn it. That, 3 years, 2.5 years that I have not seen the doc, and I am impressing anyone. It's now got me. So, I have to immediately set the next appointment. It's going to be everything about the prostate. They're going to be doing biopsies. Well, they do the MRIs or the scans, and then they do the biopsies. And
Did those hurt?
Yeah, the biopsies, the way they did it with me, you're awake, okay, and you're on your side, and they're in there just with a device that's all the way through the rectum up into the prostate, and they're in there and they're snipping away. And they did, like, if I recall, 13 snips in there, like grabbing stuff, everything they can. I think probably healthy tissues, probably unhealthy, everything they saw, they're grabbing. And then you go back to your urologist, and they're going to give you results. And because of my score, regardless, that high number, I was already, they told me this almost by accident, which shocked the heck out of me. But hey, you could qualify for a PET scan. By the way, anything over 20, you get a PET scan as well.
Okay.
So I'm like, well, of course, doc, I need the PET scan too. I need to see beyond what's going on in the prostate, has this metastasized? So that kind of happened weirdly, kind of by accident, that I'm reminded that I get a PET scan. I would have been like, hey, charge the PET scan. Let's get this thing going. I've got to see, what's going on.
And those things aren't cheap.
No, $11,000 for a PET scan.
That's
something like that.
Nuts.
Yeah, that's one shot of radioactive dye. That's what it is. It's a radioactive dye. That they shoot into. And they sit you on it.
I'm not sure of the radioactive dyes.
Yeah, lay you on a table and just, it's nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
And then you get out of that, and they tell you don't go around pregnant women or anything like that. I mean, literally, when I was walking out of that process with the technician, he's like, "We're going to walk you around this way to avoid the pregnant people in this one part of because you're emitting radioactivity."
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, no, and I've done it a couple times, but yeah.
So then the next step is, and of course the family is. We're talking. I don't hide things. I don't go into a little ball and not talk. I've learned weirdly, and you get to hear this from me almost every one of these podcasts. My recovery program, that recovery program that I've been in for 11 years, is kind of the same journey in a weird way of personal health and well-being, and what's going on with me emotionally, what's going on with me physically, what am I doing to put myself in the best place, meditation, prayer, it's all of that stuff, right? So I'm using those same tools to get myself through what's now a cancer diagnosis, right? Yeah. So the kids are going to hear everything right away.
Yeah.
I don't know how you handle that, but
carefully.
Yeah. It's so nerve-wracking.
Yeah. You want to be honest and forthright with them, but you don't want to scare them unnecessarily, and you want to have them in the proper state of mind about what's coming
Yeah.
as well. So it's just,
Yeah, well,
careful conversation.
you're the rock star. You're their rock star. My daughters, Dad, I bet with you too. It's like, hey, you're the stud. You're the man. You're the one that's carrying the strength that you've shown and provided, the leadership, all that is still there, but they're not certain.
Yeah.
Don't you? I think that's a big part of it.
You're vulnerable
now, yeah, and you don't want that to be portrayed. To portray it.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're
but you have to deal with it.
You have to do it.
Yeah,
because
they're going to see.
Yeah, right. That's true. But it's the strange part of this journey when you have kids, and then what you have to do. Because I was like, okay, here we go. I've got a lot of, cancer in the prostate, and there's not a real certainty. Because everyone if I said it to, and there were friends I said this number to, I didn't preach it, and this is the first time I've shared it openly. But if I was to tell someone that my number was 24, they looked at me like I was a dead man walking.
Already, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah. They would stare into my eyes. We'd be doing the eyeball thing, and you could tell all of a sudden they went like scared in their own eyes for you. And I'm like, dude, I don't know anything yet. I'm still learning. It's a high number, but I've talked to my urologist, and he says he sees this a lot. It's a number that's manageable potentially. You just don't know because there's still a lot of things you have to find out. You still have to do a lot of work. It's not just this is it.
I think that when with mine, stage 4, stage 4 colon cancer and stage 4 kidney failure. And I think a lot of people, I don't know, I just felt like more people around me were assuming you're gone already. Before I was thinking that.
Right.
But if I heard that number 25, in fact, today was the first time I have heard a number that high. And it just makes me think, oh my gosh.
Yeah. So, when you talk to the kids and then you're, explaining the situation, what you got to do, because now it's treatments and insurance and money and all of this stuff that is.
Yeah,
you and I
would like to speak to that.
For you and I will both speak to that because I think for our stories to be so dang similar, and for us to be financially in a tough spot, and to be also facing something that's going to impact anything, huge, all of it. Yeah, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm not only dealing with a health issue that's bigger than myself. I'm dealing with this thing that I have really tried my best to manage, and even though it's been difficult, finances are still huge for families, and how much is going to go to healthcare and to this thing that is now on top of you in your middle age and end of life time frame. It's like, oh my gosh, do I have to face this now? And so
we had both gone through the business ups and downs, and had rebuilt, had stabilized, and brought ourselves back from the downturn, and then you get this diagnosis. And I was kind of same thing. I'm okay. It's going to be expensive, and it's not a timely thing at this stage of my life. But after the first couple of weeks in the hospital, for me, during diagnosis, and running all these tests, and it's okay. 2 weeks not, and it's going to be expensive. Sure. $142,000 out of the chute.
Ooh, wow. Yeah. Yeah, so, and there's nowhere near that kind of money ready to go towards that health.
Yeah, no.
And so then it becomes one more thing you put into not a hideaway box.
Yeah.
But it's like, we're going to address it when it's appropriate, and we're going to make sure it gets taken care of somehow.
Yeah.
But it's still my priority.
Yeah.
It's like, first, priority number one, let's take care of take care of
it. For sure. But and I did want to mention on that front is these hospitals that, they can provide financial assistance.
Yes.
We got significant financial assistance to deal with this. So in terms of encouraging people who may be facing this,
That's right.
please know that you can, go to the hospital and ask them for.
Yes.
There are also many organizations out there that will help.
Yeah.
And the third kind of part of that tree that I think is important, and this is why I think it's important for people to have a church that are connected to. With me as Ponte Vedra Presbyterian Church, and oh my gosh,
Amen.
Our church
Amen.
Stepped up in
Love it.
the biggest ways with just prayers and gift cards and meals and people saying, do you need help?
Amen. And men, we traditionally don't want to take that help.
Right.
But you and I, again, and I hate to kind of keep jumping back to this really great fortune we have, Christian, faith-based, in our approach and how people surround us, and that willingness to accept it.
Yeah.
There are men that will be like, nope, ain't going to do it.
Yeah.
Stubborn. I'm going to power through this. I'm going to keep my mouth shut. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to accept all the responsibility, let's say, of the finances and everything, and not say a darn word about it. Yeah. And then they become a burden. Instead of, I don't want to put it that way, but because we shut down and pull back, it doesn't help anyone.
No.
And you don't want to be that.
You need to swallow your pride and do what's necessary, kind of
right.
Look at it from the big picture.
It's like, we opened the podcast with that idea that, didn't know, didn't expect, how were we going to behave? And if you're not open and willing to, one, receive the support, the love, the help, if you can't, move through, money shouldn't be the end of this,
and it doesn't have to be.
Right. It can't. It's the last thing. You're going to take care of the bills. I'll take care of the bills. We'll figure that out. But priority number one is I got to take care of somehow moving myself to that next place where I can be in a position where if I'm allowed, I live a long life or whatever that looks like. So, the 24 PSA shocked people, and I had to address that. I had to address the stage 3. I'm doing this without much knowledge of how cancer works, how this thing in my prostate is going to evolve or where it is. But what I did find out after the PET scan, which was inconclusive kind of, and I wished it wouldn't have been inconclusive. I wanted the doc to give me exactly, did it metastasize? Where's it at in the bone? What am I dealing with there, if it did? But he did give me some good information in that my Gleason score was a good Gleason score, telling me it wasn't on the high aggressive side. So it hadn't reached it didn't appear, but certainly didn't look like it was in the bones. And the lymph nodes, which are really important because I had no idea you had all these lymph nodes all around that hip area.
Yeah.
There's lymph nodes everywhere in your body.
No, I didn't know
Yes.
that.
Yeah. I would always go to the regular lymph areas.
Yeah.
But apparently the guy's saying you got a ton of lymph nodes around the hip area and around there. And I'm like, really? And he's like, that's where the cancer prostate will sneak out and get right to those lymphs. So the lymphs looked good. And I was like, all right, so let's get after this thing. And for 9 weeks, they have me scheduled every day for basically it's 15 minutes max. The waiting in the waiting room is longer than the photon treatment. And they, for 9 weeks, are hitting those spots with a direct beam. And they're doing some radiating around the area as well. So what he did is said we could remove the specialist at Turk. This is Turk Oncology. He said we can remove it, the prostate, or we can just the same radiate, and it'll be the same exact results. We'll just crush the cancer.
If they removed it, what are the impacts of that?
Well, it's interesting enough. I don't think there's any difference because what happens for me is I'm not only radiating the prostate, I'm radiating around the prostate area like a blanket, kind of just in case. So they're getting lymph areas, they're getting hip area, they're just radiating around. So for 9 weeks they do that. And then they go after the same time. I heard this and I said right away, give me the shot. a testosterone removal, this shot takes the testosterone out of your system. Get started on that. Both of those things I wanted to start as soon as possible, Tim.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about you, but I was like, we have got to get on this right away.
Yeah.
Did you feel that way? Like as soon as you heard, or were they saying it to you? Probably.
It was going to be a long road. I knew that.
Yeah.
It was going to be 12 months. It was inoperable. They could only do chemo.
Did you feel like you wanted to get after it? I mean, I don't know.
I don't know. I was ready to get after my own, mental mindset and doing what I could do physically. I don't know that I was gung-ho to jump into the chemo. Yeah. But yeah, I guess I was, it's here. Let's deal with it.
Because I've known, again, men that won't even do that.
Yeah. No, I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah.
They just really get into a place where they're complaining.
Yeah.
Running around irritated, and they're mad. And you're like, dude, just...
I didn't have any of those kinds of feelings for sure, but I know the kind of people that you're talking about, and it's self-pity or I don't know, maybe their lives aren't where they care about them that much, and they just assume perish. I don't know. But I love life, and I wanted to be here, and I wanted to conquer this thing.
Yeah. Everything about life, again, is precious, and we know the things that we have gratitude for, and so
I wasn't fearful.
Yeah,
but I enjoyed myself.
Yeah. The fear part has, I think, a lot to do with our faith, and then the other thing is because you've been through enough. This is the way I feel about it. I've been through a lot, and I'll just keep saying, whether it's my addictive personality, the alcoholism that I went through, and that I basically in recovery from, that person, that guy that's full of ego and full of pride, I really had to finally crush him, smash him, and be hopefully the guy that was like not as built around control, and not as built around this thing that would be fight, flight, but acceptance. Because, it's like, eventually you're just like, dude, I'm going to put myself in the best place.
Yeah.
No,
100%.
Yeah. So the 24 is now still there, and I'm like learning about it and learning what it means, that number. Because I do have friends that have... lower numbers, much lower numbers, and worse spots, and that's the thing that I believe doctors and people want us men to understand. And the PSA isn't the tell-all either.
Yeah.
It's just an indicator, and it's something to follow and understand. Hey, if it's going up, because a lot of the people that were in that radiation, when they were not radiation, photon, getting the treatments done, that 9 weeks, I met a ton of men, Tim. And those men, because you're on a schedule, and so the same guys every day, so 5 days a week, for 9 weeks, I'm showing up
at the same people,
same guys, and they've moved me up in schedule. So I went from a little later in the morning. I asked that I get to the very first person in the morning. I wanted to be that guy that just goes in, gets on the table, and leaves.
I'm the same way.
So I got to be that guy eventually. The last couple weeks, 3 weeks, I was like, I'm driving in. I'd call Margaret, because I'd be 6 o'clock. I'd be on that table.
Yeah.
They'd have it. They'd 6:10.
Yeah.
And then by 6:20, I'm calling her going, I'm heading home. It literally is, if everything's working good, the time on the table is 3 minutes. That's really it.
Wow.
Yeah. That machine is an incredible piece of technology. And they have 2 of them over at Turk. 2 of the same machines. The building is small. It's nondescript. You show up in the parking lot, you would never know multi-million-dollar, kind of work is getting done there. And the machines themselves to build that facility, to make it handle the radiation, all that.
Yeah.
Those rooms are special rooms. They're designed like high tech, where you're in a whole nother world looking around going, wow. The guys even allow me to see the back of open up the door and see behind the wall where the rest of the machine is. Because all you see is the thing that spins around you.
Yeah.
You lay on the table and this thing rotates around you. It's got 5 plates on it. Hey, what does that one do? Hey, what does that plate do? What's that one doing? You got a beam going down the middle of your body, a laser beam, and you're squared up. Exactly the same spot every freaking time you go in there. They have to get you lined up. They make these little tweaks from the control operating room where they shift your body into the exact position so they can start that radiation work or that photon work.
The technology is, it's mind-blowing.
Yeah, I am a dead man today, or close, if I don't have all these things working for me. So they let me see behind the wall. So the machine is just beautiful. There's 2 of them in this one clinic in Jacksonville, Florida. Only one. I'm just going to give this one sort of paint the picture of how much cancer is in the world, in the prostate world. One clinic, Jacksonville, Florida, 120 men a day.
Wow. Yeah. It's just so prevalent. People, I mean, it's unreal. And that's just one type of cancer. Yeah.
And it's me in one blip of a lifetime. I'm just there for a moment.
Yeah.
And my 9 weeks is done and I'm gone. They're still radiating. And there's men. That doesn't change. They're the busiest prostate clinic, treatment clinic in the country.
Yeah,
we're right here in Jacksonville, Florida.
We're fortunate to live here and have that around us. It's such a big medical infrastructure here in Northeast Florida.
Yeah, and they are one of the best. Yeah. We have the best in the world. Yeah. The guy's been doing it for 25, 30 years. He was, I got a chance to meet one of the partners in the first meeting, and he gave me he was really nice, gave me a lot of insight into the technology, into cancer today. And he was telling me, because of that, what happened during the pandemic and what's happened over the last 4 or 5 years, where they used to put up numbers and talk about success rates, all that's kind of shifting now because of behaviors, men's behavior, our behavior, and what we do when we see them, what we think is necessary or unnecessary from a personal health and well-being. It's like, and there's word out there on the street, apparently, that prostate cancer is curable or something. And it's like, well, no. I mean, prostate cancer you can get yourself like breast cancer. These are the things that you hear now. If you get after it and you're early enough,
catch it early,
you have a much better chance. What I hear, most men will, 1 in 8, have prostate cancer. There's a lot. Yeah. It's just prevalent. But, it's not the same. It's not at all the same. And it's like anything else, deadly. It's one of those things that will, unchecked, my health right now and what I'm doing, now that I have a number like that, which essentially I think it tells me I'm in remission. I'm in a good place, right? So now it's, Kurtis, can you take care of yourself? It's still that same darn struggle. How are you eating? How are you sleeping? What are you doing with your spiritual condition, so that you're like, I came here today, who's meditating on the back porch?
Yeah.
Who's meditating and breathing on the back porch, but you're doing the work?
Yeah.
It's what we're supposed to
do.
Well,
and another thing with cancer, and I don't know how much you've thought about this, I guess a lot.
Too much, probably.
But just, say they can save you and they can cure you or reduce the cancer enough where you can continue living. You're still going through treatment, like with me. I'm still receiving treatment and infusions. And that in itself is kind of killing your body little bit by little bit. Yeah. And, at some point there's a trade-off, I guess, and this is where a lot of men give up. We're going to do this treatment. It's killing this, but it's helping that. And you kind of have to decide, do you want to continue to live like this and deal with the side effects? Yeah. And that equation is going to continue throughout your life, because they're telling me you're always going to have to be on some form of treatment. And it's always going to be breaking my body down to a degree.
Yeah.
And then you get into a quality of life issue.
Sure.
So that's something, that people have to deal with, and it goes further, it gets harder.
But again, you and I and anyone else looking at this as a, well, is this all there is? Well, no, of course not.
Yeah.
The daily work in the field of cancer is continuing to, reveal and do. I mean, they're just, especially, cancer. I think it's in a place right now where it's accelerating, and you got to imagine with
everything with AI, and the knowledge that they can process. So
the goal is I'm going to take care of myself regardless, put myself in the best environment regardless, because the things happening in the medical industry are also exponential. They're just boom, boom, boom. Everything's happening in a space and time where
we're at a curve in technology where it's going like this now.
Yeah. And we're not even saying that to encourage ourselves. It's just a fact.
Yeah.
It's just a fact. So the score was one thing, great. But this other thing with the testosterone, and this is what I want to wrap with, and I know I've been pretty long on this, but the testosterone treatment, removing testosterone out of the body, I'm fine with that. Get after it. Let's see what happens. But what was interesting is telling men about that and learning more about men's reaction to it and thinking through what I do as a man that goes to the gym every day, that runs with other people every day, that
you see all these commercials selling technology,
testosterone,
testosterone.
Well, and because it is so important. I'm not denying the fact that testosterone is critical for a man to have the general well-being, because it does provide that stamina and that alertness and that's all the stuff that if it's at a high level, and let's say you're that man that has no testosterone issues, and if you don't appreciate the fact that you've got strong, you carry testosterone in strong amounts through your life and through midlife, and a lot of these things are tied to midlife. A lot of men will start wanting to hang on to those. I want my same physical presence. I want my same emotional, mental, presence. But and they'll tell, to your point, Joe Rogan's out there right now. Hey, testosterone, boost it. You can add.
Yeah, testosterone replacement therapy, hormone replacement therapy. I started doing all that when I was 40. So that's their age. Yeah, it makes a big difference.
Makes a big difference.
Fuck yeah. Listen, everybody listen to this. There's a stigma attached to that in a lot of people. Like, where do you get your testosterone from? I get it from my balls. All that matters is that you have it in your system. If you don't have it in your system, you're not going to feel as good. It's real simple. If you're fine with not feeling as good, good. Go ahead. Stick with that. But if you're not fine with it, this is 2018. Hormone replacement therapy exists for a reason. And that reason is it makes you feel way better. It makes your body work way better. You can avoid a host of ailments and conditions that are related to your body breaking down due to age.
We're not going there with this conversation. What I'm trying to say with the conversation is, if you're not if you don't know your overall health, and you don't really understand exactly the ramifications of adding something back in or boosting it, let's say, then you please learn as much as you can about your body and your current health status before you add something to it.
Yes, sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Because if I wanted to add testosterone to because I'm an endurance athlete. It goes all the way back to when I was early 40s. And I had friends in their early mid 40s that were right beside me saying, Kurtis, I started testosterone. I love it. Yeah, in their early.
So you were interested in that kind
all the way back to early mid 40s.
Wow.
Yeah, 15 years ago, I would have started it.
I had one friend who tried it and he didn't like it, and so I kind of wrote it off.
No, I had too many friends that were saying, "This is Kurtis, you'd love this," and I think that's because they knew I was an endurance athlete.
Yeah,
and they were like, "You just," and they had every sort of benefit of experiencing its, the positive side of it. And then by the time I'm in my I mean, honestly, 58, 59. When the prostate cancer's firing up and I'm still trying to get after it as a 60-year-old man, I had those thoughts again. Man, without knowing anything about my prostate, without understanding testosterone can actually drive up the cancer.
Yeah.
Like it feeds off of this testosterone. I could have started unaware, injecting or creams or whatever you talk about, and seriously impeding my health.
Yeah.
Because I would have, I would have been encouraged.
You didn't.
Yeah, I would have. It not to say that I was at a low T point. I think I've always had decent testosterone. I never tested it. I never even.
You must have for all you accomplished.
That or I'm just a crazy man. So I'm grateful that I didn't ever, really jump into the testosterone thing. And this point of speaking to men about testosterone in general, great, we need it. But, the prostate issues that I have and that most men have, if you heard about President Biden and what's going on with him, they can actually keep him alive longer by removing the testosterone out of his body, because that's what the cancer wants. That's what the cancer feeds off of.
So you have this treatment. Will they ever put it back?
Great question. Well, yeah. Well, and it's not that I think what it is, I try to read up on this, and there's ways to go about the testosterone. You can remove it or have it, this drug that I think diminishes it.
Yeah.
The other one, I believe, allows or prevents it from attaching, or the cancer to attach to it or to feed off it.
Yeah.
Like two different methods. I believe they just got me down to almost zero testosterone. I mean, I'm literally living without any testosterone, which is really hard, but I could get after it with the same attitude and I can go and get the same results, because I think when I do my runs, nowhere near the guy that was running a year ago, nowhere near the same kind of numbers in terms of, I don't have the same pace, I don't have the same distance, I don't have any of that. But the guy, I finished with the same deep breathing, heart pulsing, all the stuff that really kind of matters. Like, how are you breathing today? How's your heart? It's that stuff. And then do you know what's happening as well? That endorphin thing is still happening.
Yeah.
It's not like they remove endorphins from me.
Yeah.
So I can actually finish a kind of a crummy run. I would have said, not the best run, but because I finished like just big deep breaths, Tim, and just going, wow. I mean,
and you're still challenging yourself.
That's right. I am still challenging. I don't care about records. I don't care about my results as much as I get in the shower, take the shower, get out. I am like, I know I'm driving down to a meeting or to my office or to the beach or wherever I'm heading next, after getting after it a little bit without testosterone in my body, not worrying about what my results are, and just going, I feel great, or I feel better, or I feel good.
Yeah.
And that is the thing that you and I know both look forward to as well.
Yeah, and I've experienced the same thing, and the chemo, because of the way the effects it has on your body. So yeah, my run times and strength and other different things down about let's say 25%.
25%. That's a good thing.
And my goal is to get back to where I once was, but I'm been told that that's not going to happen.
In your head, you're probably still there. You watch.
Yeah, exactly. And
that's my problem too. You watch.
But at the same time, I still am driven to go on runs and to do these things and
serve
to the best of my ability.
Yeah, serve, which we're going to be doing.
Yeah, and they made me feel, same thing, made me feel good. And
I loved how I surfed a couple weeks ago, and I mean, I'm talking, I still don't know the results of anything. I'm still, in the mind space of, I can't control any of this, but I'm going to get a PSA result. I'm going to be, finding a new, whatever this journey is going to be, and it's not a stubbornness anymore, but I am quite aware that I can be very hypocritical. I could be hypocritical in behaviors based on an emotional state, and I'm trying my best not to let my emotions drive me as much as my being, when I say being, Kurtis, this spiritual human, the guy that's trying to, first be spiritual.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that guy has to be okay. And I don't want that flipping back and forth between,
That's first. Yeah.
So, that again continues to prove to me, God continues to show me, as someone that loves him, loves what the gifts are that I've been provided. Every day is special. Every day, we have opportunities. And,
you mentioned it last week. Living with gratitude is such a big, important driver of things on a daily basis, and
changes up everything.
Yeah, and all through this whole journey that I've had, and I'm sure that you've had, that has kind of remained right at the top for me, and that all through it, I all through my treatment, I could never let go of still feeling gratitude for every day and the things I've experienced in my life, and I'm going through this thing, and I'm not going to fall into the pity party. I'm not going to ask why me, because I'm grateful for all that I've been able to do and
still get to do,
and
still get to do. Yeah. That. And I'm sorry for the phone, folks. If you're hearing that, I forgot to turn off my notifications. So we'll let that be part of our Not Strong podcast this go around. But it's just good stuff, and I'm certainly really grateful for you, Tim.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, you were kind enough. We hadn't decided that we were going to pull this thing off this morning, and we are going to move into something where we put a mic between us real soon.
We're going to bring on a guest.
Yes, we're going to start telling stories and talking with guests, and we're going to continue to encourage, continue to dig into this spiritual journey that we're on. And probably not as much about the cancer. I think we put the story out there, and it's one part of it, but we want to get into other. I think the strengthening of the human spirit is such a wonderful topic.
Yeah.
We can go a lot of places with that, and there are a lot of ways to encourage men.
We'll run through every aspect of life.
Yeah. So that's about it. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, audience here, for joining us again. This has been Not Strong, Empowering the Human Spirit. Thank you, phone notifications. I'm Kurtis Loftus.
I'm Tim Hamby.
We'll see you guys real soon.